Hey Spencer,
Hello.
have you ever felt the need to go into a bar and go to the
No,
jukebox,
I don't
put
think so.
a quarter in, and then put on R. Kelly and look around the room to see who separates the art from the artist?
There's so many things you just said that I have no experience with.
You've
Like,
never put a
A,
quarter
going to
in?
bars. B, carrying change now, like past 2012. C, I couldn't name one R. Kelly song. D,
Ignition, Ignition remix,
I don't know what those are, but they're probably fun.
the Closet song.
I do remember that one because the
Oh,
South
okay.
Park, they did it.
Oh,
The
yeah,
John
that's true.
Travolta. Yeah.
And I said no. She said yes.
No, I can separate art from
Were there
artist.
other guys there? I said,
I
were
didn't
there
know
other
that was
guys
real
there?
until like 5 years ago. My friend was
Oh,
like, "No,
it's
that
more
was
than
based
real.
on this."
It's more than real. It's a way of life.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
How did people not know he was a psycho when
It's
he
just
made
like
it?
this small thing where he just pees on people and he's super gross. You
I think
look
the
past
age,
that,
I think the
the
age of
guy's
the
an
people is,
artist.
I think it's more the age than the P that people
That's
aren't in
true.
love with. I think people
That's
take issue
true.
with that. The P's
That's
not
true.
great. I'll say it. It's
No,
not
no,
great.
yeah. The pee's the icing on the cake
Yeah.
out of
It's
everything
a,
else. Thinking the
if it was
fucking
just the
guy's
P, people
pulling.
would be like, he makes good music, but he's really weird. But the other thing mixed with the P, it's too much. It's too much.
Yeah, you could be weird and make music and
Yeah.
not be an ass or not be like
You can't
totally
be a
weird.
sexual predator and be weird.
Yeah,
And
sexually predator. Yeah, because I was thinking like I was trying to get to Kanye, and then
yeah,
I was like saying weird. Like Kanye's kind of weird, but like, you
people
know,
also really defend. Again, I've like never gone out of my way to ever hear a Kanye thing. I know they of them, but and like so I'm completely divorced from the hype and the hatred. So I just see all these news stories and I'm like, he seems like wild. Like, and people are like, no, you don't get it. I'm like, what?
unhinged.
Yeah,
I
like
I feel
I
like this
don't
is the
know.
first time we've ever talked about pop culture stuff.
I have a very specific cone. In stealth games, there's like a cone of vision a
Yeah,
character can see you in. I have a very
yeah.
specific cone of vision, and I know every fucking detail in that cone. But outside that cone, I'm like not the. We don't have a world map yet. People living on one continent. I don't know what the fuck's out there, and I'm never gonna know.
That's so different from me because
Yeah.
I like to be a little good at everything. I have to have a little bit of knowledge in everything
Yeah.
because when I gas people up and try to get shit, like I have to know everything so that I keep the conversation pop 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 pop. Like they're like they walk away. They walk away. Every person I meet walks away thinking, "Wow, that guy was really good at talking. He wouldn't shut up. He wouldn't shut up the whole time."
That's good. People say something. I'm like, I don't know what that is, dude, but I'm happy for you. And they're like,
Yeah.
all right.
Okay. So Mark and I talked about this where
Yeah.
this guy, this like PR guy went up to Mark and was like, "Oh, hey man, how are you?" And then Mark was like, "I don't know you, dude." Like blunt. Like,
Whoa.
I don't know you, dude.
I mean, if someone was
And
like, "Hey, how are you?" I wouldn't be like, "Who are you?" I'd be like,
that's
"Oh,
what
not that.
that's
Thanks,
what I
you."
said.
I'm not gonna act
That's
like
what
I
I
know them,
said.
but that it's just polite. Like they're being polite by asking me. I don't know.
Evidently, they did. He met him at a press event.
Oh, that's even
Like,
worse.
yeah, months
That's
before.
rough. Yeah.
And he's like, "Dude, I met you here and here." And he's like, "Oh, yeah, 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 yeah." But I'm like, Mark, in those situations, you just pretend like you know the guy. You just
Yeah, you
say
don't like
hi.
dive too deep. You're not like,
Yeah,
"Oh,
you don't.
yeah." But you're
Yeah,
like, "Oh,
yeah.
how's it going, dude?" And then
How's
if
it
they're like,
going?
"You don't remember me, do you?" Then you
Yeah,
can
you're
like
like,
charmingly be like, "I'm gonna be real with you. I don't, but
I've met so many people today.
yeah."
I've just been passing around this
The
business
flight, the
card
hours,
everywhere
the
I
time difference,
go.
the flight, the meeting all the people. Frankly, it's a cooked egg in there. So
Yeah.
yeah. And then typically, then once you have enough layers, then they're like, "Oh no, it's me from this," and then you either remember them and you're like, "Oh," or you don't, and you still do that because you've established that your brain is mush, so they don't care.
Let's do the theme song. Hello and welcome to episode 92 of Unqualified Game Chat. I'm your host, Azara Lopez, and with me today is the Snug. The Snug. What is that? Persona or Thomas the
One
Train?
Piece.
What?
It's definitely from like a bootleg website. My parents got me for Christmas, and I like it a lot. So I'm quite
It's
happy
just
with it.
One Piece characters doing that like tongue out thing that those anime hentai girls do. They're like, oh.
No, that's just Chopper. He's just excited. All the other ones is just like normal faces.
That's what I thought. Thomas the Engine. I thought Chopper.
Oh yeah, that's Thomas the tank engine on my shoulder. Yeah. He joins the Straw Hats after Wano. Most people don't know that he did animation from it.
Anyway, Spencer the Legacy. Hello.
Hello, I'm not sick this week anymore. I still feel, when there's like an echo of sickness, you're not sick anymore, but your brain hasn't gotten the memo yet, so you're like a little tired. You're like, tomorrow I'll be all the way better. Like that kind of mindset. I'm still there, so hopefully tomorrow I will be all the way better. But
sometimes I don't want tomorrow to be better.
I always do, no matter how good it is. I'm like, I don't want it to be worse because it's always worse. I want it to be better.
Yeah, I try not to set any expectations for my day. It's just
I don't either. When good things, I hate that I'm like this. When good things happen, I get really nervous. I'm like, the shoe's gonna drop.
Yeah.
I'm like, things have to be average at best. Average at best.
You know what? Bad luck to me legit happens in threes. So everything, so every time something bad happens, I have to do these big things. Like I check if my mortgage is paid. I check if I have money in my savings. I talk to my boss and see if I can have a one-on-one with him. I do all these things just to downplay the fact that whatever's coming next is not that bad. Usually it's something like my phone breaks and then my tire pops and then stuff like it's usually shit like that. A pipe breaks in the house or something, it's usually something like that. But I have to do these checks every time I get a stroke of bad luck.
That's fair. That makes sense. That'd be the smart thing to do. I just kind of head down until it's over. Much like my high school experience with my peer. Head down until it's over. And then when it's over, you get up, you dust yourself off, and you go, I probably got 3 more weeks before I get knocked down again.
Would you do high school over again?
Like with my current brain?
Yeah, let's isekai.
Maybe. That'd be very interesting because I would definitely be the complete opposite of what I would like. I'd be very, not necessarily outgoing, but I would definitely work. What most people don't get about high school when you're in it is it doesn't matter if these are forever friends or anything. You're supposed to live in the now. This is your last time having no real obligations, and you don't really get that. But I mean, granted, I was born fucking 90 in my head, so I've had the weight of obligations my whole life. I've always been I must always be completely good and respectful and carry my weight, and which is probably not the best way to be a 12-year-old, but I think I would try it just to see I'm just gonna enjoy my time with these people and I'm not gonna take classes too seriously. I'm not gonna do poorly, but all through high school all I focused on was grades and hanging out with a few of my friends, and I had good times 100% with them, playing Gary's mod until 5 a.m. on weekend, stupid shit like that, and it was great. But I would 100%, I think it would be a very different experience, and I would definitely, I mean, granted, I'm saying that, I still don't do any of that shit as a 27-year-old. I'm not I'm going to enjoy my time with I'm every day, I'm all I do is think about money and work, and then I go to bed, and I try to do some video games. But I don't know. What about you? What would you do?
I would probably try not to care so much. I was totally in the brain of I cared so much about what people thought about me, and I would try to meet their expectations or what I thought were their expectations of me, and it kind of turned me into an asshole. Later on, I started to resent everyone. It didn't matter who you were. I already hated you before I met you.
Whoa.
And I was just I had a heel arc for sure.
It's shocking how different we were at these ages and how good of friends we are now.
Yeah.
That's so
Yeah.
interesting.
I was
Like when we
like,
were in high school, I think that you would have like absolutely very successfully scored points off me, and I would have been
well,
like seething but hiding
yeah,
it. But
I
now we're
got
like
beat.
really good friends.
I got beat up and teased up until sophomore year, and
Yeah.
then emo music started getting like big, and so I had like the scene hair and stuff, and I had like all these MySpace friends. So by
Yeah.
default, I started looking cooler because people saw me and saw people online, and then just like said, "Oh, that guy looks like he's one of those online guys, but he's here in real life." So I played off that, and I started going to a lot of like punk shows. Like I was like playing music. The thing, the hard part is that those people aren't necessarily into video games. So those are two different worlds. So any anime that I used to watch, any like video games I used to play, all went away. Call of Duty, Halo, that was it. That I was allowed to talk about. That I was like, if I talked about anything else outside of that, it was like,
see, I did the exact opposite. Where in my insecurities, I dove because I had the fucking the like Peter Parker fucking high school footballs to the back of the head. People like making out on your locker, and you can't get in, so you're late, and your teacher's mad at you, and like public humiliation. I had all that shit, and so I dove deeper. Where I was like, I just got to get through like 6-7 hour long schools, that many hours of school. I can go home and I can fucking play Final Fantasy and not think about school anymore. Or I can go watch this show or whatever. So it's very interesting. You know, you went this way and I went this way. That's really interesting.
I definitely and I guess I am still pretty good at like putting that mask on for whatever group or community I'm in. I can kind of weasel my way into like different conversations. But in terms of like holding back who I am and my personality, I think I got over that going into college. I think I really like, and I didn't start college. I didn't start going to college until I was like 24 full time. So it took me a while, but so when I entered there, I was like, you know what? Like fuck everything. Like those friends I tried to impress in high school and stuff, they're not around anymore. They're not here.
Dead,
yeah, they're fucking dead. Like,
and I miss the noisy bit.
So it was.
I don't know that.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I haven't heard anything. Maybe they are.
They are.
But I do. It was definitely like that for me, and I would go back, and I would probably not care as much and really dive into the things I enjoy instead of waiting so long to do it.
Yeah, I'd also eat better.
Oh yeah. Well, I was vegetarian when I was 13, but yeah, it was a tough road.
High school is when I started getting fat, and then first failed year of art school is when I got real fat, and then so that would be a big one because I didn't shed my like high school brain until like at least this not high school brain, but the mannerisms I developed there that I was talking about. I didn't shed that until like 2020. I would I could put on like a good show with other people, like at events, and I'd be like, well, I'm totally sociable and normal. Hey, what's up, dude? But then I would just like when I went to 2 or 3 colleges in total for different periods of time, and for the first 2, the failed one and the other one, I would just like not. I lived in a dorm and I didn't know anybody and I didn't hang out with anybody the whole year. I just played video games every day, all day, and to me that's like such a wasted opportunity is to not make friends and stuff in that way. But then just before the pandemic, I was like, I need to do something, and then the pandemic happened, which didn't help the social aspect, but
no, it didn't.
Foam therapy was handy at that time. So.
Was that like that was going into your last years of college too, right?
Yeah, because I did art college for 1 year and I failed horribly, and it was a disaster. And then a couple years later, I did English. But halfway through my thing, the school went on strike for months, and I couldn't manage it at the same time as like having mental health issues, so I dropped out. And then finally in like 2019, late or early 2020. First, yeah, I went for journalism to a different school, and COVID happened, so I finished it after COVID. So it's been an interesting post-secondary experience. But
Yeah.
hey, I got a thingy, I got a paper. So there you go.
I'm surprised you're so well off living alone too. Like
I'm shocked. I got the
yeah,
coming
that
right out of school.
living alone is probably like was the hardest thing that I've ever had to do.
And it is hard. I'm not,
It's
I'm very conscious of my how I use and save money.
oh yeah, I can probably I can't even count like on two hands how many times I've asked you, Mark, and Bailey just to move in with me. Like, how can I convince these guys? Like, I've been putting seeds for years. Like, I just need my friends.
It's true.
Oh well, this episode or this podcast is recorded every week, posted to podcast services on Thursday. We did 2 in a row. Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Pretty good. Take that. Take that, Lozy. Take that, Sabin Fire. Brian. I always miss Brian because I always don't say Brian because we have a Brian on Noisy Pixel, Brian Lee. Yeah. And that's where my brain goes Brian, but I do attribute Brian to Brian.
That's crazy because I think Brian Griffin. And I'm like, wait, he's not real. And then
he's
hold on.
Just
he's a dog.
We have a topic today. I wanted to talk about horror games, and I know everyone freaking talks about this. So
you probably do, but
I feel like we probably
New year, new me.
Yeah, I don't know if we can repeat the same stories, but hey, we'll try because I know you guys didn't listen to that episode.
If now you don't remember, and if you do, you're a liar.
We got better. We got better equipment now. We got better tech. We got better audio. So put your head down and just enjoy.
Put your head on your desk and be quiet because this is study time, and you're studying with us.
What was your first horror game?
My parents were very well. I guess it was more my mom, but I'll just say my parents. They were very ratings conscious. I didn't get to play rated games till I was probably 14 or 15, except for I would like sneak watch Max play Mortal Kombat and stuff and think it was really cool.
You couldn't play Mortal Kombat.
I could sneak play it, but I didn't like
Super Nintendo Mortal Kombat.
No, because that was when I was a real little kid. So I'd seen them, but I didn't have like I had a Sega Genesis. I couldn't get Mortal Kombat. That was the violent one. That was the uncensored one. So I mostly saw like Deception and Armageddon and Deadly Alliance. But
good games.
Plus, I didn't sneak play them because when you're raised as a little Catholic boy when you're a kid, they instill guilt in you very early. So they're like, you've done anything your mom doesn't want you to know. Like, so I wasn't playing Mortal Kombat secretly because Catholic guilt is a big thing for a 10-year-old.
No, yeah, you say that, but I grew up. I went to Catholic school up until high school, and you're absolutely right. And I try to explain this to people that growing up Catholic
school, you can't get it. It's insane.
Yeah. Just the guilt of of sex, the guilt of enjoyment, anything that's
anything that is cool. They hate and they make you think you're going to exorcist hell for liking it.
I kissed a girl when I was 12 years old on the cheek. It was a girlfriend I had, maybe 11, 8th grade. But I kissed her on the cheek. It was my first girl kiss on the cheek. I went home and cried because of how
most shit in the world.
Because of how I was going to explain it to my dad that I kissed a girl. Like that's how bad it gets to you, especially.
Sorry, what?
Like even being nude. Like
100%.
Yeah. I can't. I don't do that. Like when people have their kids running around nude, in my head I'm like, what are you guys doing? Like,
God can see their dicks.
Yeah, post your fucking clothes on your little fucking kids. They're 2 years, not even 3 years old.
Even if you're not remotely Catholic anymore, if you were as a kid, if you were raised that way, there's just some shit that's stuck in your brain, and you can acknowledge it, and you can be like, I hate that, but it's there. And that's shit like that where like you shouldn't care about other people. Like who fucking cares?
There was
It doesn't matter. But there's like an itch in your head that's like, isn't that weird? And you're like, oh.
There's this one time where so there's like the way this old house was set up. There's a hallway. There's a bathroom, my room, but in the middle of the hallway, there's a living room where everyone's at. So I took a shower. Okay. So to get to my room, you have to walk past the living room. And I forgot my clothes. So I decide that I'm going to run past the living room area and go to my room. And in my head, I remember this so vividly that I started humming the Sonic theme song, you know, like the cartoon. And I felt like that made me faster, and so I ran past, and then someone said I saw that or something. So I think it was my dad or my uncle or something, and I started crying. Crying.
There's a lot of crying in Catholicism.
Yeah, I've never put the word guilt to it, but that's so great that you like said it like that.
Yeah, that's 100% a real thing. Like even again, if you're not Catholic at all, there's like an extra 10 pounds in your stomach of like guilt at all times. It's insane. Once it's put there, it's never gone. Because when I was 13 or whatever to do confirmation, I had to go to this Bible camp. They handed out a list of sins that you could confess for that day. And it was like sinful thoughts about the opposite sex. I don't even want to know what they thought of thoughts of the same sex. And like sinful touches of my body. Like all vague enough that when you're 13, you're like, oh, fuck, have I done all of this? Oh, fuck, am I going to hell, dude? Yeah, it's, listen, if you haven't been raised Catholic, it's really hard to comprehend any of that because it all sounds insane.
But it sounds dumb. But
putting that kind of like stuff in your brain when you're young, your brain develops around it. So it's
I can't even pinpoint how it came up because I don't explicitly remember them like saying any of this was bad or saying like
all got mixed with like fundamentalists.
Yeah, very very smart. Very smart, those Catholics.
That's the scariest game of all we've talked about, dogma.
Yeah.
Religious dogma. The scariest thing in the whole damn world.
Real life, the scariest game to play.
Scariest game to play when you're 12 years old and you don't even comprehend your feelings. And you need to repent. Very scary time. And
the Catholic Church, the ultimate villain.
You know, we're covering every movie that's coming out, so like there's a lot of trailer posts for the Exorcist sequel and shit. And even though I'm not like religious, because as a kid, like people come to our school and be like, demons are fucking real, exorcisms are real, you can get fucked by that. And you're like 8, so you're like, oh, what? Like that's real? So then I watched The Exorcist as an adult, and like probably if someone watched it now who had never seen or wasn't religious and was like, this is like a really good horror movie, but it's not especially scary at this point. But that little like Catholic seed for when you're a kid is like, you hear that priest be like, demons are real, and you're like, this movie's fucking scary.
I'm following. There. I'm there.
Yeah, so weird. It's so strange. It's so nice. This episode is a lapsed Catholic child therapy session.
Yeah,
happy Halloween.
I think so. kind of turned into that.
Yeah, we're gonna get like 3 comments though where people are like, that's exactly what it is. That's 100% true.
Yeah, please let us know if you relate at all.
Yeah.
But okay, so you weren't allowed to play.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, I got really off the topic there. But then we went on a family trip to Boston. And we went to a comic store that had games, and I said, can I buy my first F-rated game? Please, 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 please. I want to play it so bad. And I'm old now, and I'm responsible. And they were like, okay, that's fine. And I bought BioShock 1, and I played it. And I was like, this is kind of scary, but it's more story. It's rocks. And I still love it to this day. But
I would call BioShock 1 at least a horror game.
It's got real freaky aspect, like Sandra Cohen, all the statues, and like the even the first part in the hospital with the doctor and the all that shit. It's very much,
Oh
it's
yeah.
very, and just an excellent game all around. But
Yeah,
yeah, so
Bioshock 2 kind of removes it with like the big dad playing as Big Daddy.
yeah, it was.
I felt safe for some reason. I felt like I had a
Plus,
but
I think the tone is a lot less scary. Like, it's not so you're not in this foreign place that you'd have
the
no idea about anything, and it's already fallen apart.
yeah,
You're a resident of it. You're a
I
giant hulking thing that lives there forever. So
I guess in that regard, the horror aspects of the second one at least are more by your choice. You know,
yeah,
like you're kind of turned off by the choices you made.
yeah.
Bioshock's good choice.
They ever did that Bioshock movie? That was in talks for so long. I remember I was around that time after I played it. I was like, that would rock. I think Guillermo del Toro was attached at one point. I know Gore Verbinski was attached at some point. A lot of people have been attached.
See, that sounds like a way better movie than Twisted Metal that just came out of nowhere.
Yeah, there's a
And
lot
then
of
it came and went. No
yeah.
no one gives a shit about Twisted Metal anymore.
I don't need games to become movies, but I think BioShock would be one that would actually be very interesting. Although, I don't know. The end twist thing is a lot less interesting in non-interactive form. But I think the lore itself would be pretty interesting as a movie.
Out of all the Bioshocks, I think the third one is probably the best suited to be a film.
I agree. Which is a shame because Rapture is really, to me, Rapture is Bioshock to me. That's like, I think Infinite has good parts in it and shit, but like, I think of Big Daddy and Water and like, that's what I think Bioshock, I think. Rapture and Andrew Ryan and all that shit. So, what about you? What was your first spooky game?
Well, I remember, so same. I wasn't even allowed to watch Simpsons as a kid. But what did we do? One time out when I was 10, we had a party at my house and my friend brought over Grand Theft Auto and my dad got so mad.
Whoa.
Like, it's over the head. Like like looking back at the first Grand Theft Auto.
Grand Theft Auto 1? Yeah, where it's like isometric. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the first one. And he was like mad that we were playing it.
Yeah.
So that's just to set it up. But my friend had a sleepover and we had like, I don't know, 8 kids. I think I was probably like 8 or 9. And he had Resident Evil. And I remember they put it in and we're watching it. I'm watching the intro and I was like, whoa, this is kind of scary. And then they walk into the room and they're talking. In my head, like, yes, sure, it's cringy now watching it now, but I'll tell you, back then when you're like 8 years old and they're talking, you don't care about tone or anything. You don't care about delivery. You're just like, holy fuck, some dogs just chased me in this mansion. There's blood on the floor.
Blood goes a long way when you're a kid and being scary.
Right when the first zombie, you walk into the room and the zombie kind of turns his head after eating. We all screamed. About 6 or 7 like 8-year-old kids screamed and turned it off.
That's really funny.
And I never played Resident Evil again until I was probably like 11, 12.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. And I think I rented like the third one at that point. And I didn't even like go back until the first one until maybe like the PS2 was already out and I was just playing old games. Because back then I had a PS2, but I probably only had like 3 or 4 PS2 games, and they're all like Final Fantasy X, Final Fantasy X 2, and just a couple others. But I never even knew there were Spyro games on the PS2 until I was like 17, 18. Like, it was just so weird. Like, we couldn't afford it, so I didn't even humor.
Yeah. I had the exact same thing in my head. I'd be like, I remember, plus the internet wasn't as prevalent. I was probably like 8, and all I did was play Sonic Adventure. For some reason, to this day, on that VMU, I have like a 48-hour file of that game. It's maybe like 4 hours, that game. I don't know what the fuck I was doing. But I would just play it all the time. Even when I was done, I would just run around Station Square. And I remember I called my friend in Winnipeg, who told me, who was like my cool older friend. He knew all about Sonic and Sega. And it was probably like 2004-ish. And I was like, oh yeah, I beat the Sky Deck in Sonic Adventure. That's a really tough level. And then I'm gonna be done the whole game soon. And he was like, then you'll be ready for Sonic Adventure 2. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
2?
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, it has Shadow the Hedgehog. And he sent me like a picture on MSN later, and it was just Sonic but like dark and evil. And I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like I've never been able to match that hype in my life of seeing that. Because like that game had been out for like 3 years at that point. But like I like
there's no way to know.
I unless you like searched Sonic Adventure 2 on the internet, you wouldn't see it because I wasn't on like GameFAQs. I was just on like Newgrounds and dumb shit, not seeing half that. So so as a kid, I was
just way more. I mean, the PS1 games were just cheaper.
Yeah, that too.
We rented a lot of games, but renting was dangerous because again, we didn't have internet. We had dial-up, but I never thought to use it. I only used it to go to like Cheat or Absolute PlayStation, but I never used it to like look up game news. I never read game news as a kid.
It's because news was in magazines and newspapers.
I had Game Informer. You had PlayStation Underground. But whatever they wanted to show you is what you knew.
Sure.
I knew Soul Reaver was coming out. Stuff like that because it got a cover. But in the big scheme of things, I didn't have the money to afford those things. And I think that's why my PS2 collection is so good, is because I'm going back. It's very expensive, but to play some of these JRPGs that I missed out on. And it's good for me, but I didn't know until maybe a couple of years ago just how extensive and how vast the PS2 library is.
Oh,
the Armored Core series, there's updates, and the way they did updates was they just released another Armored Core. So yes, there's like 5 Armored Cores, but each Armored Core has like 3 different versions. And I didn't know that growing up. I just bought one and thought this was the 3rd one. This is the 4th one. This is like Silent Hope and stuff like that. They just put taglines behind it, and I was like, I don't fucking know what this is. I'm not. Yeah. This is not.
Like as a kid finding out about like Kingdom Hearts Final Mix, and you find out online, and it's like they colored the enemies different, and there's different bosses.
Yeah,
and you're like, what?
Oh,
what?
I remember like Final Fantasy VIII had like a PAL version where you can like go into some secret room and like do this stuff, and like I was like, what?
International.
What is PAL? What the fuck is? Oh, it's EU. Yeah,
it's Europe. I don't live there.
Yeah. How do I do this? Oh, you can't because region lock. You go down the hill. You figure it out eventually.
PS3 Kingdom Hearts was announced. They're like, we're putting them all on there, and then they're like, and their final mix, and everybody was like, oh,
yeah.
For so long, it was just the thing you saw on YouTube. Some people who had modded PS2s that you would like put fucking thumbtack in so that you could run the thing. So you'd see the Terra fight on there, and you'd be like, this is fucking crazy, dude. How'd they do that? And then they were like, now everyone can play it. What a weird time. It's so weird how different the world was like 15 years ago to now in terms of games. Like, yeah, how much more accessible things have gotten just everywhere. It's nuts.
Every night before I go to bed, I've been watching an old episode of Computer Chronicles. Just to like, they're 30 minutes long, and they're from like 80. There's like from 1981 to the year 2000. You have so many like good episodes about when the internet was coming up, when graphics and games were like popping.
Yeah.
And they would show a video game, and they're just like so stoked on like the math of it all and like the graphics, even though it's like Atari graphics, and they're just like, wow, like I love that feeling. And gamers are so fucking jaded now. When they look at graphics and they there's pop-in. Oh, look at that pop-in.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up about pop-in.
Unless it's really bad.
Unless it's real, yeah. I mean, we've all played the new Pokemon.
Yeah, we've all played games where like Pokemon where the pop-in happens in here, and you go, oh, yeah. And that's not like that. That could be improved. It's like that should be better. You have a lot of money. Like, that should be better. I get indie studios. Okay, fine. What but Pokemon Cup.
Well, I think
I don't-
that's when you develop a game within your means. If you know you
Yeah.
can't do something like that, you find a way around it, like they did
Yeah.
in the old times. It's like, oh, we
Silent
can't.
Hill.
We have a shitty draw distance. Oh, there's fog.
Yeah.
We use fog to put that, and it makes
Sometimes
it a
it's
little
like that in the story, like Silent Hill. Sometimes it's just there's like Superman 64 where they're just like, wow, it's the virtual world. Everything's foggy. And you're like, I don't know about that one. But all right.
Yeah, it's a, I don't know. It's, I think we take graphics a little we put graphics a little too high. And so
People who
I
obsess
like,
over graphics are like power skillers who are like, Goku's stronger. No one fucking
Yeah.
cares.
oh, you reviewed this on console and not PC, that means it's not a real review.
Oh my god.
What's your rig? Shut the fuck up. That's my rig.
Ugh.
All right. Well, we tried to talk about Halloween games.
We got some
but
games in there.
we talked about a couple. Let us know your first Halloween games in the comments
Let us
below.
know your repressed Catholic trauma
Yeah.
and your favorite little Halloween games. Mix it up.
And would you twerk to R. Kelly's Ignition remix if I put it on?
Or the
All those questions
yeah.
and more will be answered in the comments.
Yeah, I'm excited to see all your crazy little thoughts about it, you little biscuits.
Well, have a good week, everyone. We'll see you later.
See you later.
Voice Pixel.